We have an excellent topic that is applicable to a lot of us and something that we need to talk about, because I've had some conversations with several investors over the last several months, and it's something that a lot of people are struggling with. Maybe you have, I'm not sure, but we're going to talk about success and what that means for you. And it's important for us to define it. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to define it. We're going to talk a little bit about it. We're going to talk about some of the traits of successful people and how all of this applies to us in real estate investing. So an important topic for us to discuss tonight. And so let's get started in it, because what is success for you might not be success for somebody else. And that is important to actually understand, but first of all, what is success? Let's define it. Now, I looked up a few definitions online today, and here are the definitions that I found. And give me your opinion on this, guys. When it comes to success, how would you define success? Throw it in the chat. Let me know. How would you define success? And everybody, it might be a little bit different, but what does it mean for you? Might be different from somebody else. Here's how Google defines success: the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. So there's a key word in that definition, and that is accomplishment. But something else is necessary for us to reach success based on this definition, and that is having an aim or having a purpose. And if we have an aim or a purpose, success means that we accomplish that. We reach that goal or that aim or that purpose. Here's another definition. This one was from Wikipedia. It says, success is the state or condition of meeting a defined range of expectations. So similar. It says it may be viewed as the opposite of failure. The criteria for success depends on the context and may be relative to a particular observer or belief system. That's essentially saying, in layman's terms, that success might mean something different for somebody else, and it might be different for you. So why are we talking about this today? And we're going to try to tie this in today, guys, when it comes to real estate investment, because that's why we're here. That's why we invest in real estate, is to reach some form of success. And it's not that real estate investing brings us happiness, or real estate investing helps us achieve our goals in life. As far as how many properties we have, well, now I'm successful. Not necessarily. It's maybe a little bit deeper or more complicated than that. But why are we talking about this? This is an important point, and the reason we're bringing this topic up today, guys, is because a few conversations that I've had recently, and one of the conversations I had was with one of our Ignited members, and I'm not going to name names, obviously, but one of our Ignited members felt as though they were not successful. And let me just name a few things. As to one of the first questions I asked was, okay, so in the last year, what are some of the things you have accomplished when it comes to real estate investment? So this particular member of ours had done some private lending, lended out funds, done some private lending, had invested with, I believe, at least 2, if not 3 different investing sources. So companies that invested in real estate, they invested with them. They had 2 actual investment properties that they had become a part of and had purchased and were managing on a continual basis. I believe they had also connected other people with investment opportunities. So they were a bit of a connector in between as well. And for doing that, had got a portion of an opportunity. So this particular person had dabbled in several areas when it comes to real estate investment, but they felt as though they weren't successful, even though they had done all of these things in the last 12 months. So there's an issue here, guys. And one of the issues is that we might look at what other people are doing. We might see investor A over here had just bought an apartment building, or maybe 2 or 3 apartment buildings. Or investor B over there has bought 10 or 15 properties in the last year, and we've only bought 2, or maybe 1. Or maybe we've only done the research to buy 1 and haven't done that yet. what's the point? The point is that success does not depend on what other people are doing. And you know what? In our day and age today, and I'm sure you guys will agree with this, throw it in the chat if you agree, social media adds to the stress that comes about in this area. When we see so much success happening on so many different levels from so many different people, and people don't really post their failures too often, they post their successes, and that's all we see. And we think, well, that person is doing phenomenal, and me, I'm not doing that great because I've only done this, this, and this. Have you felt that way? Have you had those thoughts? You know, if we had had this conversation 15 years ago, before social media, I think this conversation would have been a lot different. You know, we may not have known about what other people were doing unless we had a conversation with them, a face-to-face conversation with them. And if we're having a face-to-face conversation with people, we likely know some of the struggles that they've had through that process to achieve what they've achieved. Whereas in social media, nowadays, we go on Facebook, we go on Instagram, we go on all of these platforms, and we only see the successes. And so that is actually causing issues when it comes to people's self-worth, when it comes to whether people feel like they're achieving what they should be achieving or not. So how do we correct this? How do we correct this way of thinking that is becoming so prominent in our society today? Well, some of the ways that we correct that is, first of all, just checking in with what we are actually doing, what we actually have accomplished, and realizing that that is a success. That's number one. Realizing, number two, that it's okay for us not to be achieving the same things that other people are, because that might not bring us happiness in life. Number three, realizing that we don't need all of the things, the blingy things that are out there, the fancy cars, the big houses, everything that a lot of people are trying to achieve nowadays. That's not necessary. In fact, some of the most successful people I know, what they have done in their lives is they have simplified their life. They have made it less complicated by having less things, and that has brought them more happiness. In this world of real estate investment, it's easy to get caught up in what people are trying to achieve. It's easy to get caught up in numbers. It's easy to say, oh, well, Corey and Tiffany bought 100 plus properties in 3 years, and that's what I want to do, and that's the measure of success. Absolutely not. It's not the measure of success, because a lot of those properties could have put us bankrupt. A lot of those properties were negative cash flow. A lot of those properties were not good ones to buy. And so what we did is we have learned over the years that really the success was not the number of properties that we bought. We probably financially could have done just as well with 1/10 of the properties that we ended up buying if we had bought properly. And so really, where is the success in our story? The success is the fact that we have been able to survive some of the mistakes that we've made. The success is that we have actually made it through to that point. Then to us, what success means is the fact that we're able to enable others and coach others and mentor others to be able to find the success that they're looking for. So that's really where we find our success when it comes to business, when it comes to real estate investment. Several times, guys, recently in conversations, one-on-one conversations I've had, even with some of our Ignited members, is that they have felt like a fraud, or they have felt like they have not achieved the success they should have. And when we actually talk about what they have achieved, by the end of that conversation, a lot of times they're like, wow, yeah, I really need to check the way I'm thinking, because I have achieved a lot. I'm not a fraud. I am attaining success. I am, remember that definition? I am accomplishing my aim, or I am accomplishing my purpose. And it's having that conversation that sometimes can make the biggest difference. And realizing that in this journey, guys, our journey has had very many ups and many downs throughout the 20 plus years we have been investing in real estate. And in those down times, you feel like a fraud. You feel like you're not having success. You feel like, well, how come they're doing this and I'm not doing that? The first year and a half, we started learning about real estate investment. We never did a thing. We never bought one property. All we did was went to meetings. All we did was learn. All we did was listen to CDs. All we did was read books. And we didn't do nothing. It took us a year and a half before we ended up buying our first investment property. We felt like a failure during some of those points. We felt like we weren't attaining success. But I'll tell you that all of that buildup, all of that research, all of that learning was so necessary for us to then be able to do what we ended up doing. And so that year and a half was a year and a half of success, even though at the time it didn't seem like it. But instead of comparing others and feeling bad, you look at it as a sign that it is there for you. Exactly. It is possible. When we see what other people are doing, it shows us that it is possible. If others can do it. I remember, guys, back in 2000, this was January 2004, we went to our first RAIN meeting, and Don Campbell went up on stage, for those of you that know who he is. And he was, to me at the time, a pinnacle of success, doing great things when it comes to real estate investment. And I thought to myself, you know what, if he can do it, and this is no disrespect to Don at all. He was a great mentor for us for many, many years. If he can do it, you know what? We can do it too. We can do it too. And that propelled us to then continue learning that year and a half that we needed before we bought our first investment property. So finding what others have done that was successful, like for us it was Don at the time, that propelled us to then say, you know what, we can do it too. And that's really what listening to other people's successes should do for us instead of getting us down. It's irrelevant how many doors, how many properties we might own, how many millions of dollars in real estate we might have. A lot of that could disappear one day. A lot of that could make us bankrupt. It's happened to many investors. They've gotten in over their heads. They can't handle what comes with owning those properties. Is it the number of doors? Is it the millions of dollars worth of real estate that we own? Not necessarily. What it is the life that we are trying to create with the effort we're putting forward when it comes to real estate investment. That's really what's important. Even Tiffany and I at times get ourselves caught up in looking at successes of other Facebook groups, successes of other mentorship groups, successes that are happening with other people buying real estate. And are there other people buying more than us? Absolutely. Most of our Ignited members are buying more when it comes to real estate than us. But when it comes down to measuring our success, we are measuring it differently than somebody else might measure it. And that's the point of defining this topic, success. So guys, we've had a little bit of an intro as to why we're talking about this tonight. We're going to talk now about some of the traits of successful people. And I've done a lot of research on this over the last week or so. Not saying that that's all the research that is needed on this topic, because we need to know a lot more than that. But there's a lot of traits of successful people when it comes to not only real estate investment, but in life in general, in business in general. What are some of the main traits that we have seen have helped people to gain success? Remember, to achieve their goals, to get closer to their purpose, to get closer to their why, because that's why we do real estate investment. Owning properties is not the end game. Owning properties is the vehicle we use to help us reach that end game. But here's an important point that I want you guys to realize. And I want this to try to let this sink in when it comes to real estate investment. It's not all about the end game. It's not all about 10, 15, 25 years from now. Real estate investment, what a lot of it is about, is the journey we take from where we are today to where we want to be in the future. Okay? I want you to think about that for a second. The journey we take from where we are today to the journey or to the end goal that we want to be at some point. That's the important part, is that journey. That's why we call it the investor life, because you have to have a life in between. You have to, even though you're going through some ups and downs when it comes to business, you have to celebrate some of those wins. You have to be okay with some of those downs. You have to be okay with the fact that maybe you take a break off social media for a while. Maybe you're not as seen or noticed out there as much as you were in the past. Maybe you haven't bought properties for some time. Maybe you are not creating new partnerships and raising capital. Whatever the case might be, we're going to have those down periods for maybe months, maybe years at a time throughout this journey. And you guys need to know that that is okay. And that has happened with so many different investors that we have seen, successful investors, people that are and have reached their aim, their purpose, their why, the goals that they're trying to reach. So it's okay to have those ups and downs, guys, and I need you to be fully aware of that. Number one, if you have a pen and paper, guys, you might want to write these things down. See how many of these traits you feel that you're confident in. How many of these traits do you feel like you have when it comes to reaching your level of success? Number one trait for real estate investors, not number one. Okay, so these, as we go through these, we're going to go through 10 different traits. These are not ranked in order. Number one is just as important as number 10. We're just going to go through some sort of order. And the first one that we're going to talk about here is self-confidence. So I want you to think about that for a second. Self-confidence. Now, when we think of a self-confident person, sometimes we might think of somebody that is prideful, arrogant, that sort of thing. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is somebody that believes they are capable of doing what they want to do. That's what I'm talking about when we say self-confidence. Somebody that understands that you don't need to know everything. Okay, how can you be self-confident and know that you don't need to know everything? Because you have backup. Because you have people around you that can answer those questions. Because you can lean on your team members to answer those questions. That's what gives you self-confidence. So another conversation I had recently, another one with one of our Ignited members, was they did not feel confident enough to talk about an opportunity with others because they felt as though they may not have the answers to every single question that might come up. They didn't have self-confidence in being able to come up with an answer for everything that they might have been asked. Here's the answer to that, and here's what has helped me to get through that. I don't have the answer to every single question that comes up. Tiffany doesn't have the answer. Nobody has the answer to every single question that might come up. But what you can have, guys, and what can help you have self-confidence is knowing that you have backing, knowing that you have a team, knowing that you can find that answer and you can ask your team members of that answer, and then you can get back to that person. That's what's helped me have self-confidence. I've been asked many questions throughout our investing career by sellers of properties, by buyers of properties, by realtors, mortgage brokers, by lawyers, you name it, anyone in this industry. And they've asked us questions that I don't know the answer to. But what have we been able to do? We've been able to rely on our team and get that answer for them. And so if you have built that team around you, that will help you gain the self-confidence, or in other words, the belief that you are capable of getting that answer. So step number one, and one of the more important ones, guys, I think in this whole scheme of real estate investing, not scheme, but you know what I mean, is make sure you have a strong team around you. And if you don't, feel free to come and ask us about Ignited. We are a strong team that supports one another within this program. Self-confidence. That is one trait of successful people. Drive. Drive is a trait of successful people. A person's drive allows them to make their aspirations, their dreams, their goals, their why a reality. You need to have drive to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So self-confidence, we talked about. Drive is very important. Do you have drive? Ask yourself, do I have the drive to make sure that I'm not going to quit? To make sure that I keep going when I'm in those down periods? To make sure that if I've taken a few months off of social media or I haven't raised capital for the last 12 months, do I have the drive to get back going again? Because you will have those off periods, but it's okay if you have the drive to get going again. That's the important part. Do you have drive, guys? What's next? Patience. Patience is a quality of successful people. And why is that? Especially when it comes to real estate investment. Guys, it's because our results, our aim, our purpose, our why, our goals, we don't achieve them right away. It takes time. So patience is needed. We need to realize that it's okay to not achieve everything right away. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme, guys. Real estate investment needs patience. Next point, discipline. Why do we need discipline when it comes to real estate investment? Because one of the most important things, guys, is consistency. And remember when I said you can take a year off of raising capital, you can take months off of social media. Some people feel as though that is being inconsistent. But when you look at real estate investment as a whole, and you look at a 20-year span of investing as a real estate investor, it's okay to take some of those periods off, because this is looking at it from a bird's eye view, looking at it from the outside, looking at it from down the line. Over the last 20 years, did we take time off of social media? Guys, Tiffany and I weren't even on Facebook before 2019. And you see what has been created here within Fearless, within our Ignited program. Did we take time off of social media? We weren't even on it until 2019. Did we take time off of buying properties? We didn't buy anything from 2009 to 2015. Did we take time off of managing our properties? Yes, we handed it over to a property manager at some points. Did we take time off of doing some of these things that are necessary in real estate investment? Absolutely we did. And that's okay. But staying consistent, getting back on it, having that drive to at some point later on, discipline yourself, or not discipline yourself, sorry, having the discipline to be able to stay consistent is very, very important. Developing habits, developing routines. Some of you might be routine people, some of you might not be, but having those routines and the discipline to keep to them can contribute to your success as a real estate investor. Next point, guys, is communication. Communication, good communication, is a trait of successful people. How does that apply to real estate investing? Can you communicate effectively with others? Can you communicate a difficult problem or a difficult situation simply? If you're able to do that and have the trait of good communication, what if things are going sideways? What if things are going bad? What if things are not doing as well in an investment as they were originally promised? How is our communication then? Those are the points where if we are communicating well, then our investors will continue to invest with us. Our realtors will continue to work with us. Our mortgage broker will continue to get mortgages for us. That communication, being clear, being honest, is super, super important when it comes to real estate investment. One of the biggest things I said as a realtor when I was working as a realtor, and I'm not anymore, but when I was working as an investment-focused realtor, was my best clients communicated well. They told me what they wanted. They told me the situation they were in. They told me timelines. They communicated clearly. It was the clients that would not give information. It was the clients that held back important information that things didn't go well. So communication is very, very important when it comes to real estate investment. Point number, whatever we're on, is integrity. What has scared us a lot of times when it comes to real estate investment is when somebody calls themselves or tells people that they have integrity. And what we have found is a lot of times when people say I have integrity, that means that something is being hidden. How do we show that we have integrity? It's by following through with what we say. It's not that we say we have it, it's that we show that we have it. It's not in just what we say. That's the important part when it comes to integrity. Keeping our promises. If we keep the promises we've made, and that doesn't always mean that every investment has to turn out exactly as we had originally said it might, because we have no control over a lot of factors when it comes to real estate investment. But if we keep our promises, and maybe those promises have to do with our communication, maybe those promises have to do with our discipline or our drive, some of the things that we've talked about already. But if we keep our promises, that'll create stronger relationships. And relationships are important in this business of real estate investment. You know, who would you rather invest with? Would you rather invest with somebody giving you 20% returns on your money, but you doubt their integrity? Or somebody that's saying 5% return on your money, but you know they have integrity, and you know they have the drive, and you know they communicate well, and you know that they have the traits of a successful person? Where would you put your money? I think every single one of us would put it with that person at 5%, because if we don't feel confident that somebody has integrity, our money could disappear. Another trait of a successful person is taking responsibility. And guys, this is a big one that a lot of investors shy away from. A lot of real estate investors might shy away from, because things don't always go as planned. Things can go sideways when it comes to real estate investment. Interest rates can go up. Markets can go down. Tenants that were approved could go sideways. There's a lot of factors that are involved with how the numbers end up turning out on a real estate investment. But the key to all of that is taking responsibility, admitting maybe when a mistake is made, admitting when an error was made. We don't want to have too much pride to not be able to admit we've made a mistake, because mistakes happen. Every single one of us makes them. But not every single person out there takes responsibility for those mistakes. Again, who would you feel more comfortable with? Investing with somebody who made a mistake but took responsibility, or somebody that made a mistake and tried to hide it, or didn't want to talk about it, or was too prideful to talk about it? Who would you rather invest with? Obviously somebody who takes responsibility. So taking responsibility for your actions, taking responsibility for how things go sideways or maybe go negative. The beauty of that is that if you take responsibility for those things, you also then can take responsibility for when things go really, really well. And that's the beauty of it. Our ninth trait that we're going to talk about is passion. And I think that this is a very, very important trait when it comes to a real estate investor, because we have to like what we do, and we have to like the job that we have. And who here wouldn't say somebody is going to do better if they're doing what they love, if they have a passion for it? Obviously, we're going to do better. If there are certain things in our real estate investing world that we don't have a passion for, that we dislike, those are the things we have to hand off to others. But the certain things that we do like, if we have a passion for it, maybe our passion is communicating with other people, starting conversations, but we don't like closing the deal. Well, maybe our job, our goal, our aim, our purpose, what should be success for us is, let's get those conversations started and let's work with somebody else that can then close the deal. We need to have passion for what we're doing, because that's what makes us good at it. That's what keeps us going. That's what fuels the drive that we need. That's what disciplines us to keep going, is passion. We must really care about what we're doing. And having passion for what we're doing on our journey to success makes that journey so much more enjoyable. That's what we're trying to create. An investor life, an enjoyable, passionate journey. That's what we're trying to create. Okay, last one we're going to talk about, guys, an important trait to have, a trait that successful people have, is resilience. Why do we need resilience when it comes to being a successful person? Why do we need resilience when it comes to real estate investment? Because we're going to have failures. That's why. Resilience, though, allows us to persevere. Resilience allows us to try again, and maybe try again, and maybe try again until we do reach our aim, reach our goal, solve that problem, succeed. Attaining success needs resilience. It keeps us from giving up on our goals. It keeps us from selling all of our properties and getting out of real estate investment. It keeps us from getting out of this world that we're in of real estate investment, is having resilience. So guys, here are, and let's just recap these quickly. Here are the traits of successful people. And these are things that every single one of us as real estate investors can work on, can keep in mind. And some of these, it doesn't mean that we have to be amazing or super strong on all of these traits, because none of us are perfect. There's certain traits here that, we might lack on, but then maybe somebody we're working with is really strong in that area. Maybe we're not a good communicator, for example, but then do we partner with somebody that is a really good communicator? Maybe we don't have discipline. Do we have somebody on our team that can keep us disciplined if it doesn't come natural? This is where working with others can really sometimes make us more successful than when we're trying to do all of this on our own. Here's the traits, guys. We're going to go through them quickly. Number one was self-confidence. We must believe that we're capable. Number two, we need the drive to keep going. It allows us to make those aspirations a reality. Number three, having patience. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme, guys. We need to be patient on reaching our success. Number four, discipline. We need to be disciplined so that we stay consistent in our efforts. Number five, communication. We need to communicate effectively when things are going great, when things aren't going great. Number six, integrity. Integrity. We have to keep our promises. If we do that, our relationships will be stronger, more successful. Number seven, willingness. Oh, you know what? I did skip one. I think I did skip one. We didn't talk about this one. Number seven, willingness to learn. Let's talk about that for a second. Guys, we need to be open to new ideas. We have to be open to new ways to approach our goals, to look at things. Sometimes maybe when we got into the real estate world, our goal was 10 properties. Our goal was 100 properties. But maybe our approach needs to change. Maybe our goal was to buy those 100 properties, but we've realized that we are not comfortable with raising capital. Or maybe we're not comfortable being the manager or the working partner. Or there's certain things that we aren't comfortable with. How can we adapt? How can we change? How can we be willing to learn a new aspect of this business and fit in somewhere? There's always somewhere we can fit in. So that was number seven, willingness to learn. I hope I'm on the right number. If we do that, reaching our goals will be much easier. Number eight, responsibility. We talked about that, taking responsibility for mistakes, admitting them, not being too proud to take responsibility. Number nine was having passion, enjoying what we do. Making sure that whatever it is we're doing, we have a passion for it. And of course, there's going to be some aspects, guys, of what we do that we might not be fully passionate for. But overall, are we passionate about what we're doing when it comes to real estate investment? And our last one that we talked about was resilience. Resilience allows us to persevere, allows us to keep trying again until we succeed. Those are the traits that we all can try to focus on. We can all try to work on. We can all improve on certain aspects when it comes to being successful. And remember what we talked about at the very beginning. Success for you can be completely different than success for somebody else. So when we see posts on social media, when we see how great some other people are doing, we have to know and be okay with the fact that that is great for them. But success for us is something different. And that's perfectly fine. That is perfectly okay. And in fact, that's what will help us to be happy. That's what will help us to reach the success that we are looking for.